is up, guys? Dad Dash here, and I'm coming to you finally with this video here that I promised. This goes along with the series I put out with my tracker sheet. So this is a key component. This is basically how you can plan your goals for the month, the week, the year. And this sheet is going to be something you can use to do that, and then you can track your progress. And then there's going to be a third video where I'm going to show you how you can take this data, put it onto a yearly record, so you can keep records for the entire year. And all of this is easy to do. And if you're using my sheets, you're going to have the whole collection. So that's why I started out with those, because that's going to be the first thing. You've got to collect that data daily, and then you can use that data to collect data points on here and start tracking your progress. So I'm going to explain the sheets here. And as you know, I have a earn by time and an earn by order sheets. Because obviously those are the two modes of work that you can work in the gig world. A majority of apps are on an earn by order basis, but DoorDash allows earn by time. So this will allow you to kind of assess what it should be the better work for you. If you're a ultra part-time person and with a smaller goal, you're going to see, hey, earn by time might be the right thing for you, because you're not going to want to go out and have a huge variation in your work rate. So you may want to say, hey, you know what, if I can get out and make $13, $14 an hour guaranteed, which, although I think what you'll find is might be even less than that, because it's going to be a percentage of your work rate. So say you're at $13.25. What I've seen working these apps is you're going to make about 80 to 90% of that, because you'll be active about 80 to 90% of the time. And then because you're getting the smaller tip orders, there are some cases where you might fall somewhere in the $10 to $12 range. But I think with earn by time, DoorDash is more or less focusing on people that are looking for a part-time job. So they're kind of marketing that as, hey, don't go to Sheets, don't go to Walmart, don't go somewhere and get that $10 or $12 or $13 an hour job. Just come out a couple hours a week, come out and deliver with us, and make your 30 or 40 bucks that you need to reach whatever financial goal you're trying to save up for. And I'm going to show you how you can kind of figure this out, and you can set up your goals. So this first sheet you're seeing here, this first tab, you're going to see there's 4 tabs. So the first tab here is the goal tracker. This is where you will track all your progress. And you're going to basically use those sheets that I gave you, where you're going to see a lot of metrics that you're using on a daily basis, but you're going to put in the date that you worked, your gross earnings, your miles driven, your total minutes, your active minutes, and your orders fulfilled or contracts fulfilled. So once you put that in, you've pretty much put in everything this sheet needs. And you can record the days that you work, put it in, and then you're going to come over to a stat sheet. So you're going to see this is going to break everything down for you without having to touch anything at all. So once you input in those data points, it's going to tell you your total hourly order value, which is the value for the time that you're working. It's going to give you your active hourly order value. And I basically used these are real numbers based on my last, basically August 31st through, well, you can see on here, through the 13th. So these are real numbers for me. And you can see what I'm working at. My average, my overall timeout, I'm working at $22.30 an hour. And you're going to see how all this ties in, because really what it really is going to allow you to do is figure out a time budget. And then when you look at that time budget, you're going to be able to see, hey, what is it that I want to what is it that I need to work? How much do I need to work, etc. You're going to see active hourly order value. That is a reflection of the time. That would be your labor hours. In other words, that's the time that you have hit accept. So that's from accept to delivered. That is the time you're working inside there. And then you're going to see miles to money, which is the value of how much gross revenue you've earned per mile. Your average work rate, that's basically the difference between the time you're out looking for orders and the time you're actually delivering and fulfilling contracts. And again, I would like to see this number sitting at about 80% if you're doing an earn by order. I would expect you'd be somewhere between 85 and 95% if you're doing earn by time. And an average per order, average contract per order, again, you can determine what you need. My average right now has been $17.11. So we'll come down here and you'll see there's vehicle related calculations. So it tells you how many miles you've driven, and then it kind of calculates everything up off of that. That's giving me a 725.09 mileage deduction. My car expense fund that I'm building is $110.70. In other words, that's extra money I'm putting aside for the wear and tear on my vehicle in anticipation of tires, extra oil changes, extra maintenance, so that I'm prepared for when those things come up. And then the actual fuel cost. So again, this is a number that I'm putting aside and tracking, because as the money comes in, and if you're doing this the way you should be, then you should be looking at your gross dollars as nothing is spendable until you allocate your money, which is you allocate. And we're going to come down here to the cash flow calculator, but it does all this for you. It tells you what you need to set aside for your car expenses, what you need to set aside for your gas fund, and what you need to set aside for your taxes. Once you pull that out, the rest is yours to spend. And if you do that and get used to doing that, you have the peace of mind of knowing that you're good to go, that you're not going to be having something that will keep you off the road. Because obviously, as a gig business operator, as a individual working in the gig economy, the things that keep the main drivers that would keep us off the road would be either a personal injury, our vehicle doesn't work, or our phone doesn't work. Other than that, you're good to go. Or obviously, maybe all the apps deactivate you at one time, which is unlikely, but it's something you would, those are the 4 ways you can end up out of work in the gig world. So protecting yourself against all of those and being prepared for all of those starts with setting aside money for those things and doing it before you ever put the money in your bank account, and you have to look at it that way. Now, it gives you a tax summary. Now, I want to do a little disclosure here. I am not a tax professional. I don't hold myself out to be a tax professional. So the figures you see here on this sheet are my own estimates based on my interpretation of the tax code. And again, they may be right, may be wrong. Look at them as estimates. Talk to your accountants. Use other apps to verify. I do the same thing. And of course, obviously, my state tax amount is based on my state, and you would have to go in and adjust these things. But just wanted to say that. But this gives an idea of helping to calculate an amount for you to estimate to set aside. You come down here and you can see the federal miles rate, which you can adjust and change as it comes in. I have it set at 65.5. My car expense amount, and again, I adjust this, and it started out at about 7 cents. I've moved it up to 10 cents based on what I've gotten, and I may move it up even further. I recommend, just as a good rule of thumb, move it up 10% a year, unless you don't have a reason to do that. But if you're moving it up, that'll account for inflation, that'll account for extra costs. So next year I'll do 11 cents. And then the following year, I'll do another 10 cents on top of that. So I might do, move it up to 13 cents or 12.50. Point is, moving it up and doing, and keep moving it up will help to help you make sure that you're setting enough aside. And then actual gas cost, I keep an active gas log, and that's something I'll share with you guys as well in another video on what I do with that. But I track every fill up. so that I have an accurate idea of what the cost of gas to me is. And I've been doing this now for about a year, I guess a little over a year. So I now have a complete year and so many months spread on what the average gas cost has been for me, and I will continue doing that. And I just keep adding to the spreadsheet. I haven't run out of spaces yet, but it helps me have an accurate cost per mile, so I know what that actual cost is, and I can set it aside. And that way I can be prepared for working, because I gotta have gas to work. If I can't, I like, Torp always says you're trading gas for cash, and that's true. So, but if you don't have gas, you can't go out and get that cash. And then when you look and you say I'm making, you can see for every 8 cents that I'm driving, I'm trading 8 cents of gas for $1.34 in cash, and I want to watch that number. So when you see that, that really helps put it in perspective what you're doing out here. Now, anyways, so this is the stats that you're going to be able to see, and you're going to use all of these stats in a minute to help yourself plan. And now the final thing you have here is the cash flow calculator. So this will give you what your gross revenue is, minus taxes, minus car expense, minus gas cost, leaves you with your profit loss or cash flow of 11/20/56. And then your expense ratio is a representation of what is your I guess your expense ratio would actually be 24%, but I have it laid out as, okay, what's your income after expenses? So you're bringing home about 75.26% of your income. So that's a 3-to-1 ratio. That's good. To me, that's where you want to be at. A 3-to-1 or better is where you want your ratio to be. So that's a figure you're going to want to use in a little bit here when we get into how to forecast and put together a plan. Now, you come over here on Goal Tracker. I wanted to let you know, if you see here, this is going to let you know your goal amount. You're going to notice here your goal. The goal amount here is net revenue, because that's what your goal needs to center around. So my goal for this month is to bring home, not gross generate, but bring home 26.35.15. That is my goal. Right now I've earned 11.20.56. I still need 15.14.59, and you're going to see how I come to my plan, what I need to do, and how I need to go out and work. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do an assessment, especially if I'm going to consider what's my mode of work. You see here, for me, the way I see earn by time is you have to build everything around the guarantee. Tips are a bonus. So, and because of the fact that you will not be working the entire time, you have to consider that what DoorDash is really telling you is, we're going to be paying you $13.25 an hour, because DoorDash, by its own admission, if you do the math on the figures they present to you, they're expecting you to work about 85% of the time. So if that's the case, then essentially, when you look at the small amount of tips, and what I've seen in the data is the tips normally represent about 15% of your pay. Base pay is about 85% of your pay. You put that together and you're right back working at your hourly amount if you go out and say, hey, I'm going to work X amount today. So if you're going to do the Earn by Time goal creator, the way I would look at this is I say, okay, my revenue, to reach my revenue goals, you can plug in here, and this is what's nice. So for me, like I said, I want to make $26.35 this month. That's what I figured out I need to bring in and want to generate. So you can play around up here. You can put in 3,500, and it's gonna, if you have all your other figures in, it's going to go ahead and toggle that out and tell you, okay, this is what your projected net revenue would be. Basically, what it's going to do is it's going to look at your projected expense ratio. Now, if you have not started keeping track of anything, you should use, again, 3-to-1. So use a 75% ratio. What that's going to do is that is going to give you based on whatever whatever you're looking for. So you put 3,500 in, see what it says. If it's enough, if it's the amount you're looking for, you can keep playing with it, raise it, lower it, whatever you need to do. So once you've identified that, you've got your hourly amount for the area, then you can put in how long it is that you're looking to generate a goal. Now, again, like I said, for people that are going to use Earn by Time, in my opinion, this is perfect for people with small financial goals. I would not recommend this being used by someone who's looking to make a majority of the income they're going to depend on in a month, but that's up to you. But in this case, I'm looking over my 5-week period, so I put in 5 weeks. My average work rate in the area. Now, you should adjust that. I would use 80% to start out, or to me, that I know I told you 85 is what the apps do, but I say 80%. But what I would do is, once you start out and you start to track, I use my average. I have my averages. So my average work rate right now is about 70.36. So that's what I used. And my goal is to work 5 days a week. And my projected expense ratio right now, based on where I'm at, based on what I'm seeing, is around 75%, but it's 75.29%. You can make adjustments as you're going through and working towards your goal. So every day you log, you can go back to the efficiency screen, go back to the stats screen, and make these changes, and then see, okay, where does that put my time? What do I need to be looking for the next day I'm working based on these numbers that are coming out? Or you can look at it as and say, well, okay, I either are going to have to work extra, or I'm going to have to figure out what I need to do to try to get the goals that I need. But regardless, what I would recommend you do is change it up, see what it is, and then plan to work that amount, because what you really want to do is make yourself available for enough time. If you start getting ahead of your goal, you start seeing that time available lessen. And as long as you know the goal that you're looking for on a daily basis and what you're looking to generate, you'll be good to go. So anyways, so you put in all these figures, and here we have 5 days a week. Now, what this would tell you is that 1325, in order for me to hit my goal, I'm going to need to be active 330 hours. I'm going to need to be, 420 hours. I'm going to need to be active 330 hours, which would require me to be available 428 hours. Now, what does that mean on a weekly basis? That means I would need to be active 66 hours a week for the week. 85 hours, I would need to be available 85 hours, or basically it comes out to available 17 hours a day to work, and plan to work 12 hours. Again, you look at those numbers, and for me, that tells me everything I need to know that this is not even a reasonable way to work. So Earn by Time is out. But you can come in here. Everything that's green is an area you need to input. Anything that's yellow, do not input anything. But you can come in and see if your goal is to make like $200. Earn by Time might be for you, especially if you're not wanting to go out and sit and wait, and you go, well, I've got 2 hours a day. Boom, you can go in and see exactly how long. If you've got 2 hours a week to give, or 2 days, 2 days a week to work, and you're trying to make X amount of dollars for the week, it's going to give you all your figures. It's going to let you know how much you would need to work, and then you can adjust that. So if you've got 2 days a week that you can work, and you come in and you see, well, and you can only work 2 hours a day, and it tells you would need to be available to work 4 hours a day. Well, it tells you you're not going to probably reach that financial goal. So you're going to need to be available to work more, or you're going to need to stretch out the time period longer. So again, the Earn by Time goal creator is geared towards the smaller earner, the 4 hour a week to 4 hour or less dasher that's coming in here with a very small short-term financial goal. Earn by Order calculator. Now, this is for the people that are what I would call serious. These are the people that are earning money, earning 50% or more of their money in the gig world. And this is also multi-appers, everybody, because this will allow you to work not just DoorDash, but all other apps that allow you to do a earn by order. And I guess I need to change this. I don't know why it says earn by. I need to earn by order calculator. Goal creator. I had copied off the two sides and never changed that. But anyways, so let me explain this, because this is extremely important for you to understand how to use this. So what I would recommend you do, so the first thing you're going to do, same as the other sheet, everything that's in green is everything that's in green is a place that you input information in. So you're going to be putting in, eventually you're going to be putting in data that's going to reflect your averages, so that you can start to formulate a plan and understand what you need to plan around. And if you're doing this as a full-time gig, it's going to give you a great idea of exactly how much time you need to allocate towards your gig work on a monthly basis. So for me, my average right now, my average active hourly rate is about $31.85. So that's the time I'm active. So everything's going to build in reverse off of that. So I put that in. I put in gross revenue of $3,500 with my expense ratio being 75.29. That gave me enough money. I want to make about $2,500, but I figured, hey, 26.35.15 is good for me. It gives me a little buffer, so I was okay with that. I have 5 weeks to complete that goal. So by first week, by the end of August, that's what I want to. That's what I need to generate. So I have 5 weeks to do that. Now my average work rate, as I mentioned. If you don't have data on this, you would use 80%. I started out using my previous months, which was about 70%, and then I started adjusting it as we get going. So after about 3 days, I'll start using what I see on the stats screen. So putting in these 4 data points tells me the following. And then I put in that I want to work 5 days a week. That's what I plan to work. That's what I plan to try to do. And have 2 days off. So with those numbers in hand, that means my projected active hours will be, I will need to work 137 actual hours delivering at that $31.85 average. So I'll need to maintain that. That will allow me to only need to work 137 hours for the month. That will require me to be available to work 179 hours. Then I'll need to plan that out, which means I will need to plan on a weekly basis to be available for 27 and a half hours a week, or 28 hours a week, that I will need to plan to physically work 28 hours. I will need to plan to be available for 35.7, or I round up to the nearest whole of 36 hours. So I will need to plan to be available for 36 hours. Now, taking those numbers and looking out over a 5-day period, I'm going to need to plan to be available on the days I'm working 7 hours, which will hopefully result in me working and delivering for 5 hours. And I should be meeting my goal, my financial goal for the day. Now, obviously, the way you're going to come about, I don't have it on this sheet. I guess I could add it, and I may do that. But essentially, you would say, well, what is my daily goal then? Well, your daily goal is your projected actual work hours times your projected active hourly. So in my case, if I'm going to work 5 days a week, my projected hourly goal is going to be about $150 a day. Well, a little over $150, about 160. We're just called $160 a day. So I would need to make on average per day about $160 plus per day, work 5 days a week, and then that will end up netting me out. It should have me netting out about 26, 35, 15 over that next 5 week period. Now, if I'm able to work more and I'm able to maintain all of these metrics, I'm going to earn more. If these things start to fall, I'm going to have to work more in order to get there. But my ultimate goal is to get there, and I'm going to be tracking it, and that's where the goal tracker can come in. As of right now, I'm sitting at needing about $1,514.59 over the next 3 weeks. So that's about $500 a week. So am I confident that I'm going to hit that? I'm pretty confident I'm going to hit it. $500 a week. I've been averaging way more than that per week. If you look at the last 2 weeks, I've been averaging, $550 a week if you put the two together. So and again, that's not gross revenue. It's net. So I've been netting out, if you look here, about $560 a week. So, and again, it's very important you're making that distinction, because if you're spending your gross, you're going to be getting into trouble. So you've got to understand the difference between your gross revenue and your net revenue and your net take home and what you can take home and touch. And that's what this is going to do for you. So if you use my sheets, whether you decide to do earn by time or you decide to do earn by order, or maybe you do a combination of the both, you get to the end of that day, input these 6 data points, and then you can go right into your stats and you'll be able to see right where you're sitting. It's going to do all the estimations for you, and think of this as just an estimation. It's going to estimate you where you're at. It's going to give you what your total net earnings are versus your goal amount that you're trying to earn. Now, do you understand this? Also, I guess I need to put this in green. And I'll make that change because that is an area, the goal amount you input yourself. So once you come over here and you figure out your goal, the projected net revenue, you would take that figure and you'd put that in here. And same with earn by time. Again, I would not recommend you would approach a goal with a gross revenue goal of something of 3,500 in 5 weeks. I would not suggest you address that with earn by time, but you could. But in my opinion, you've got to plan your goals around the hourly guarantee, because if you, depending on your market. Now again, if you've tested this and you've come out and you're testing these things and you're tracking these things and you're looking at it and you've got stats proving that you're making far more than your guarantee, then you can come over here, put those figures in. You can use the higher hourly amount in your area. Again, you could come in and put $20 right, in there, and then it's going to give you your figures based on that. But I would definitely want a few weeks of tracking on that, at least maybe an entire month of tracking, of doing solely just earn by time before I would come in here and start plugging in figures higher than your guarantee. But again, that's on you. And again, all of this is on you. It's very flexible, but this is designed to help you be able to work with your figures, see your figures, and implement and organize a strategy, especially on the earn by order, and then go from there. So guys, I'm going to attach this sheet, a template, a public template, so that if you're using my sheets, I highly recommend you grab this, because this is a accompaniment to those sheets. I will be doing another video. It's not going to take too long, because it's literally using the data here and putting it onto another sheet, but it's going to be an instructional on what to do with it, so you can move it over. I'll also do a series, or I'll also do a video on my gas tracker, because you need to do that. And then you need to hopefully I'll also do another video on using an app tracker as well, because you should be tracking your income yourself, in my opinion, and it's called dual verification. And if you get audited, I'm not saying it's going to keep you out of trouble if there's trouble, but it certainly will help you look more credible if you can come to the IRS and say, well, I've got my app information, I've got my self-tracked information and it's all consistent. And here it is. And they're going to say, okay. And they're going to look at that more favorably than if you come and you say, well, I don't have any tracking at all, or I did a little here and a little there, and I'm not, and they're going to see that as an opportunity to come in and, look at things in a hard way. Anyways, guys, hope this was helpful. Like I said, as always, all of these sheets are 100% free. I would only ask if you're not subscribed to subscribe. And even if you don't subscribe, that's fine too. But my only other ask is keep these things free. Share them with whoever you like. And again, my only ask with that is let them know where you got the form. And ask them to come over, subscribe to the channel, get to know me, connect, so that as I do updates on these things, because I will update these sheets, I will make improvements. It's important you guys are aware of that so you can have the latest and most up-to-date stuff that's changing with whatever's going on with the apps, because I will be changing them as I'm using them, and in making and changing the templates and updating the templates, and that way you're aware of the changes that are going in. Anyways, guys, like I said, hope you found this helpful, and as always, stay safe, stay profitable, and Dad Dash will talk to you soon.